Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interactive Interview on the interactiveinterview.com. I'm James Walsh, joined as always by Daniel Edler with our special guest, Doug Williams. Doug, how you doing?
All right, thanks. Not too bad. And yourself, okay?
Doing pretty good. What have you been up to lately?
Over the last few weeks, taking it easy. But really, the Christmas period and that, I had a bit of a break. January's quiet. I just came back from Holland this weekend, did a show out there, which was good fun. It starts getting pretty crazy again come February and March, so taking it easy at the moment.
What sort of things you got coming up that the fans can go and see you at?
Well, I'll be doing quite a few shows in England for All-Star Wrestling, sort of the biggest touring promoter in England. I'll be at some of their shows. And then for American fans, I'm back at Ring of Honor on 14th of February for their Pure Wrestling tournament.
How long are you out in America for that?
I'm just out there for that weekend, so I basically fly Friday, do the show on Saturday, and come home Sunday.
Well, of course, you just mentioned you was in Holland over the weekend, and of course in the States and in Japan, and of course in the UK. And one of the questions coming from the fans was, what other countries have you wrestled in? Because obviously you wrestled in quite a few countries, but what other countries apart from the ones just aforementioned have you worked in?
Using the long list: Germany, France, Austria, Ireland. Pretty much covers most of the others.
Do you like the whole international travel side of things and like getting to different countries and whatnot?
That's one of the reasons, that sort of attracted me to wrestling in the first place. Was, the opportunity to travel and see parts of the world and that, Certainly that's happened in the last couple of years, so I can't complain at all. And hopefully this year I'll be able to get a few other countries.
Any in particular that you're looking out to possibly go to?
Well, I've had a few inquiries from Italy, and Nigeria of all places.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll be able to visit another continent and wrestle there. That'd be interesting.
Have you wrestled in the States before?
Have I?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been over for Ring of Honor several times.
What is your opinion of the American crowd?
Generally they're okay, to me specifically. But I think it's because I give them something a little different to what they usually see. But of course, I find the American crowds don't get lost in the drama of a match as much. They don't get drawn in by that anymore. They're just looking for the high spots, unfortunately. Especially in respect to the promotions I work for, like Ring of Honor, where it's mainly that sort of crowd that, I think they're quite educated. So really, I'd say they're looking at the match for the wrong reasons.
Do you feel that possibly the American crowd's slightly more critical than the UK crowd?
Yeah, definitely. I think the UK crowd has still got that sense of going along to the show just to be entertained and enjoy themselves. Whereas a lot of the American audiences, I find that they're looking at the matches more closely and more detailed, not really enjoying themselves as much as I think they could. Which I find strange, really, because the perception you get is that British people are quite quiet and reserved, and the Americans are the ones that are outgoing and like having a good time and enjoying themselves.
Steve Corino was on the show recently, and he said that the American crowd tend to be more of movie critics instead of wrestling fans. Do you agree with that?
That's an excellent analogy, actually. An excellent analogy. Sorry, go on.
That's right, you go right ahead.
I was just going to say that I watch movies, and I find myself entertained by movies that a lot of people say that are terrible, But I still enjoy them.
What is your favourite movie? Just as a kind of an example of what you mean. What's your favourite movie?
What's my favourite movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's difficult. Probably A Fistful of Dollars, a Clint Eastwood movie. I'm a big Clint Eastwood fan. I'm not saying that it's certainly not a bad movie, but that's what my favourite movie was.
One of the questions that got asked by the chat forums when we announced your interview was, what's the biggest crowd you wrestled in America, and what's the biggest crowd you wrestled in front of in America and in the UK?
Biggest crowd in America. it's probably 1,500 or 12, 1,500 odd that Ring of Honor drew last year when they had Jeff Hardy on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was in New Jersey. In England, it would probably be Revival, which was last year, and that was like 2,500.
How was Jeff Hardy backstage at the Ring of Honor event? 'Cause of course, the crowd didn't exactly take to him as he may have liked.
Well, I didn't really speak to him because he only turned up like half an hour before the show started, and he was sort of chatting to people he knew. And the brief moment I spoke to him was basically down by the backstage area. Just said hello or whatever. He seemed pretty cool. It wasn't, you know, he certainly he wasn't sort of being a star and keeping away from anyone. Just that he was, you know, by the time he got there, everyone was pretty busy doing things, so not that much of a chance.
Now I'd like to hit the more chronological part of the interview, where he kind of goes through your career from like the beginning to the present time, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
First of all, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Yes, I was. I used to go. My dad used to take me to live shows from about the age of 6 or 7 on a weekly basis almost. So, yeah, I'm a long time fan. I only sort of stopped away from watching wrestling when I moved. I lived in Germany for a couple of years when I was 13, when I was 15. But then I picked it up again through WWF when I came back to England and started watching WWF on TV.
Who were some of your favorites growing up?
When I used to watch the live stuff, it was people like Dave Finley, Mark Rocco, guys like that used to come in and do, you know, sort of high impact, fast style of matches. You know, pretty exciting to watch. You know.
At what point did you decide that wrestling was something that you wanted to become a part of?
That was probably when I came back to watching it when I was sort of 14, 15 years old. I sort of saw the WWF stuff as well, and at the same time I started getting back into.
Was there anybody in particular? Was there anybody particular in the WWF that influenced you?
That I enjoyed watching?
Yeah.
Bret Hart, and Ted DiBiase, definitely. Ted DiBiase was probably my favourite wrestler.
That's a nice guy. And but who trained you to wrestle?
That's an interesting question. I get asked that a lot, and there's no one person I'd say has trained me specifically. The thing was, I went to Hammerlock to start with, but it used to be that just there was like 4 or 5 guys. Obviously it was run by Andre Baker, but to say he's trained me would be a bit of a fantasy, because all we used to do was just practice between ourselves, really. You know, trying different things out. I mean, I knew how to bump anyway, because I've been doing judo for 10 years before then. So me doing great falls and bumping was not a problem. I didn't need training in that. But like a succession of wrestlers would come to the gym, and you just learn a little one from each of them. Then once I started doing shows, other people would show me things, you know. Probably the main 2 people that showed me the most and gave me the most guidance was Dino Scarlo, who was a wrestler, sort of a lightweight wrestler, British lightweight wrestler, and Robbie Brookside, who's still around now,
One of the most popular questions submitted by the fans is that tell us about your debut match. Who was it against, and what were you feeling before the match?
Right. Well, my debut match was in July '93. It was against a guy called Nick Colossus, who was another trainee from Hammerlock. I mean, my debut show was at the gym. They used to run these shows at the gym, and like friends and family would come along, and a few other paying customers would they advertised and that. And I think nerves is the main thing you have to overcome. You know, when you have that first appearance, you get past that and think about what you've got to do. And I remember when I went out there, the audience just seemed like a blur, and I was just concentrating on trying to get through the match. And when I came backstage, all I could think about was, well, I didn't really see any members of the audience. I didn't really look at anyone in the face, you know. I don't know if I did well or if I did badly in respect to that. And that's really the main thing I think I was feeling was, I wish I had a little bit more interaction with the crowd just to see how they reacted to me and what I was doing. You know?
Of course, a high percentage of the people that might listen to the interview and read the transcript and whatnot will probably know you from your work in the FWA. But what did you do before you joined the FWA, and how did you get your break there?
Right. Well, I was working, as I do now, quite a bit for the other British promoters, which like Brian Dixon is All-Star Promotions and Premier Promotions, who run like the south of England. And the thing with FWA is they booked Reckless Youth to fly over to do a match against Jody on one of their shows, but for whatever reason Reckless Youth no showed, so they called me like the day before and asked me if I want to wrestle, and I said okay. So I came and worked for them there, and then sort of progressed from to stay with them from then onwards, really. And that was quite early, I think, in FWA's life, should I say, probably a year into them being, coming on, opening up.
Who would you say has been your favourite opponent and your favourite matches in the FWA?
In FWA, probably Chris Daniels. Probably had best matches, or enjoyed the matches most I've had with him. Of British wrestlers, it'd be either Johnny or Flash Barker, Johnny Storm or Flash Barker. Always enjoy having matches with those two.
Of course, you mentioned Chris Daniels, but how does the FWA title rank in your career highlights? And what are would you say would be your top 3 career highlights to date?
Right. I don't know, you say how it ranked, what, having the title or just or winning the title or whatever, because I don't... It's nice to have the title, but I put more importance on the matches and how they are. But definitely when I won the FWA title back from Chris Daniels at Ring of Honor last year, that was one of my career highlights, one of my favourite matches I think I've had. And then wrestling Eddie Guerrero, that was a big highlight for me. That was probably, obviously the biggest star I wrestled at that time, and the fact that I beat him also made that match so much better for me. And then the third highlight is probably obviously my debut in Japan and finally getting a break there and managing to work over there, do a couple of tours.
Of course, Speaking of Eddie Guerrero, of course, you mentioned it earlier, a revival. You defeated Eddie Guerrero on your way to the finals. And how did you enjoy that event? And what was it like working in front of such a large crowd?
I enjoyed the event very much. It was well organised, and everything was set out good, and people treated you well and everything. And the large crowd, I didn't have a problem with that because 2 years previously we'd run this. Well, we hadn't run it, but the venue was used for UWA, which was a British promotion that showed on a cable channel. And it was and they drew a similar size crowd. I don't really. Size of the crowd don't really bother me that much anymore. I mean, I feel the same when I wrestle in front of 200 people or 2,000, to be honest now. So I was cool with that. I was just hopeful that I'd get the sort of response that I'd like to get, which I did, which was good.
And of course, speaking of Eddie Guerrero, did you manage to catch the Rumble event last night?
No, I was in Holland, so... I was wrestling last night, unfortunately, but...
Have you heard anything about it or whatnot, or any thoughts on it?
I was just checking out the results now on the website, on the web, so... I don't know, but... I don't really know what it was like or anything.
No, I'm going to bring it up as the talking point, and I'd say the next 10 or 15 guests that I interview, because I was, after paying £15 to see it, I'm really not too impressed at all, because I defend most WWE pay-per-views as a general rule of thumb, but I just couldn't find it in myself to defend this one.
Well, the main problem with the pay-per-view was they cut the match length for the first 4 matches down very drastically. And I was very much looking forward to Chavo Guerrero and Eddie Guerrero, and they cut that down to, it had to be about 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, it was...
It's a shame, but, you have to ask yourself, is it better to have less matches and longer, or try and get as many, or more matches in a shorter time?
It's really just a question of quality or quantity.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a shame that WWE decided to book quantity over quality in this case, but
it's strange considering it's a Rumble, so people are going to see at least 30 stars anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you think as it used to be. I remember watching earlier Rumbles, they'd only have like 3 or 4 matches, three matches before the Rumble.
It was rarely a title match.
Sorry?
It was rarely a title match, too.
Yeah.
But, well, at least they've got No Way Out coming up next month. They can hopefully improve on the fact that they cut some of the SmackDown matches short. But anyway, of course, talking about Japan and the States, as we did a little bit earlier, you, obviously, as you mentioned, you have been in Japan, but say people haven't seen, say, your stuff in Ring of Honor or your stuff in Japan and such, what would you go out to, what events or matches would you advise them to go out and, buy a tape of or, just check out in general?
What, to catch me in action?
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Any of the FWA videos from the last year, or the British Uprising one, or Vendetta from last year, or Season's Beatings, probably good ones to get. And obviously the Ring of Honor tapes, All-Star Extravaganza is the one against Chris Daniels, or Night of the Champion. They're the two Ring of Honor ones that have got good matches on, featuring himself. With respect to now, it's a bit tricky because they're just like generic TV programs, obviously, on, weekly episodes, and I don't know the dates that they show those. But yeah, I mean, definitely FWA is probably the main thing that someone wants to try and buy. They check out the website and can order them through that.
In Ring of Honor, you wrestled a 60-minute Iron Man match.
Sure.
What was it like wrestling for 60 long minutes, and is it the longest match you've been involved in your career?
Yes, it was up to that point. It was very difficult, more due to the conditions of the hall than anything else. It was 100 degrees outside and no air conditioning, and obviously 500 bodies packed into a full hall like that made the atmosphere quite stifling. I mean, a good thing, because Ring of Honor has actually supplied people with water bottles outside the ring. So like every time you got a break, you could go out and sip a bit of water or pour it over your head or whatever, just to keep yourself a bit fresh. But I was pretty exhausted come the end of it, I wouldn't say it's the worst I've ever felt, but it was still pretty exhausting on the body. I think I slept for a good couple of days after that. That's how, I mean, that tied in with the jet lag I had as well,
How is it, obviously, because you will be flying for a huge amount of time from the UK to the USA and then wrestling. Is jet lag a big factor in a match?
It's not usually that bad going to America. Coming back, it really hits you. Coming back to England, coming back, it hits you. But I don't know, because once you get in there and your adrenaline's, flowing and you get the response of the crowd and everything, it's pretty much, you forget about the jet lag. It's only when you stop and you sit back down in the dressing room that it hits you again.
The question is always submitted by the fans. They'd like to know if the WWE came knocking tomorrow, what would you tell them?
I would assess what offer they were offering me and base my decision or base my answer on that, to be honest with you. The simple fact of the matter is I could just not get up and go for developmental contracts. I couldn't afford to do it, I'm afraid. So it all depended on what they were offering at the end of the day. Maybe I could sell my house and move to America and risk it all, but I don't know, it's difficult.
What are your opinions of the developmental contracts, and how do you feel that WWE are handling maybe some of the talents that they're bringing in for that sort of contract, such as like Nova or Paul Daniels? God, UK comedian, Paul London.
Well, I don't think it's a bad thing for young talent like that to be on a developmental contract. At least they know they're getting at least something every week, a guarantee. It might not be a huge amount of money, but at least when you're 21, 22, it's not that bad to be on $500 a week or whatever, especially for this business. How they're handling, well, I don't know. They presumably, one would think that they have plans for someone, and that's why they sign them to developmental contract. But someone says, they should be pushing Paul London this and that. Paul London's only like 22, 23. If they push him to the moon now and he fails or he doesn't get over or they burn him out so young, then he'll be done by the time he's 25. He's got a chance, he's got time to build a good career for himself, but when he hits 28, 29, 30, he could be a really big star. See, so there's people in the WWE now that potentially could be for the next 2 or 3 years hold them up. But after that, they've got to think about 7 or 8 years on down the line, and maybe people like Paul London, that's what they're trying to do with them. I don't know, but I'm just sort of speculating, really. Maybe it was the same thing with Spanky, but who knows? That's why I think they sign up the younger guys. Maybe they're trying to mould them for that long-term sort of career rather than the next few months, which is what everyone seems to expect when they sign up people developmental.
Yeah,
so they'll get pushed in a few months.
Speaking of Spanky, of course, now he's been released.
Yeah.
Is he someone you'd like to go up against, possibly, either in the UK or in a foreign country?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've only wrestled once, and that was in that the four-way Ironman match. So I'd like to have a singles match against him, definitely. Bit of luck, FWA might bring him over.
Do you think he'd draw in a large crowd for the FWA?
I don't know, really. He might draw slightly more than they usually bring in, but I don't think he had enough exposure in WWE to bring in like your casual fans.
Of course, speaking of promotions in the UK, and more specifically two of the more high-profile start-up promotions in 2004, the ICW promoted by Kevin Eaton and the X-Wrestling event promoted by Phil Lowe. Do you have any thoughts or opinions on either of those, and will you be involved?
I don't know too much about Kev Eaton's promotion, but he seems to be, promoting it reasonably well at the moment and signing, promoting a few reasonable names. Good luck to him, but as for Phil Lowe, I just think that he's going about it all wrong the way he's doing it. To announce the sheer amount of names that he's announced, which, to be honest, will draw, no more than if he'd announced 3 or 4 US names. It's quite amazing that he just seems to be going for, as your colleague said earlier, quantity over quality. And we've seen these sort of things before in the UK. And no doubt his will be a spectacular failure, and we'll see it again after that.
Do you think the event will actually end up happening at all?
Well, yeah, it remains to be seen. I probably will happen, to be honest with you. It will either be in the last few days that the ticket sales will be so bad it will get cancelled in the last couple of days. It will go ahead. It will go ahead with a reasonable crowd, but I can't see them selling out. To be honest with you.
Because of course the tickets for that are £100 for their top tickets, whereas of course the FWA tickets are nowhere near that half price, not even half price of that. So maybe fans will sort of take a look at that and realise that since it's a start-up promotion, it might not be the way forward. But anyway, of course he's promoted one UK talent in 5-Star Flash, but so I take it have you been contacted for the event at all?
I have, yeah.
Will you be on the show or not? Or?
Not at the moment, no. He promoted a show back in 1999 in Middlesbrough, and he didn't pay anyone. He ran off with the money, and no one got paid. And I was on that show, so he still owes me money for that. So.
I heard a rumour
for that.
Yeah, I heard a rumour that he was offering people that he wanted to book in the future. He's offering them to pay them back, but people that he isn't interested in booking is apparently he's not offering their money back or something. Almost like Tony Flash or whatnot.
Well, yeah. Well, no one's got their money yet, so I can't really say.
Anyway, now we'd like to move into some word associations, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Excellent. First on the list is the FWA.
On the verge of expanding to much bigger, better things.
Ring of Honor.
Very professional outfit, heading in the right direction in the States.
Major League Wrestling.
Don't know much about them.
Pro Wrestling Noah.
On their way to becoming Japan's #1 promotion.
World Wrestling Entertainment.
Needs competition.
Rob Feinstein.
He's a good promoter because he has his finger on the pulse of what fans want through his video trading business.
Gabe Sapolsky.
He's a bit of a worrier. He needs to chill out a bit more.
Christopher Daniels.
Hell of a talent, probably my favourite international opponent.
Jay Briscoe.
Very talented for his age. A young guy who's learning, you know, the important things about the business, not that he's doing high spots is the thing you need. Then more than that.
A name just thrown in because fans submitted it just to find out your general opinion on the guy, not anything in particular, but Teddy Hart.
Seems to be going the wrong way about getting himself future bookings, you know.
Flash Barker.
A good friend of mine.
Johnny Storm.
He can mat wrestle better than a lot of people give him credit for. Same goes for Jody Fly.
He's the next name on the list, Jody Fly.
Right. A shame that he had to give up.
Do you have any idea why he did?
Potential. So,
do you have any idea why he gave up? Why he quit?
Yeah, there's two sides to it, but the side I can say is that he got a hand injury, which was pretty bad, and obviously that, you know, that's caused a lot of problems for him.
And the final name on the list is Alex Shane.
He's got a good head on his shoulders for booking. He doesn't take too many rash decisions, considering, you know, his relatively young age.
If you were to put together a Best of Doug Williams video, what would the first or the best 5 matches on the tape be?
It would be me against Chris Daniels, the FWA title, in your honour. Me versus Eddie Guerrero. Myself against Johnny Storm from Season's Beatings, and myself against Jody from Revival final match in that. They give a good spread of the different style of matches, mat-based and flying, and that I work.
Have you seen any NWA TNA?
Yeah, I mean, I've done an explosion match for them as well. So I have actually been down there.
How do you enjoy what they're doing down there?
Well, I was there. It was fine. You know, they seem to be running a reasonably good show, but I haven't seen a lot of it. I mean, that was last year, sort of March last year. I haven't seen anything recently of their shows, so I couldn't really say what they're like now.
Speaking of which, of course, Johnny's obviously been on TNA in the past, but do you know if there's been any talks between other promotions in the United States and other UK talents going across there and working over there?
What, for TNA?
Yeah, TNA or to Ring of Honor or to MLW?
I don't really know, to be honest, no. I haven't heard of anyone else planning to go out there, certainly not from FWA or the other promotions I'm associated with. Of course, the big problem is that a lot of promotions don't use you unless you're already there. And the trick is getting, you know, a booking where they'll pay for your flight to go there in the first instance.
Yeah.
And then it's easier, obviously, to pick up other things. But I'm sure a couple of guys will be heading that way this year. You know, certainly from FWA, people like James Ty deserve to go out there and broaden their experience.
Do you therefore feel relatively, you know, honoured or as such to be one of the, yeah, because I know obviously Johnny's been out there and you've been out there, like, as the two big UK guys sort of flying the flagship as such, but do you feel maybe honoured that you're the two that were chosen and actually had the opportunity?
Yeah, I do really. I mean, you know, because it's out of the, you know, I don't know, 200 wrestlers in England or so. It's a pretty good achievement to actually break out of just the European scene and work regularly internationally, you know. And, it does feel, you know, quite an honour.
And of course, before we wrap up, do you have a website that people can go to find out more about yourself?
Yeah, it's www.doug-williams.co.uk. It's updated on a regular to irregular basis, so it lists like my match results and upcoming appearances. There's a photo gallery, etc., so people can, you know, check out and even send me an email if they wish. I can't promise to respond immediately, but I'll do my best.
And can people who, you know, promoters and such, even in America or in the UK, can they reach you through the website for bookings?
Certainly, yeah, they can email me through that and then I'll send them my by, you know, directing our kids, you know, further that way.